Alright, how's it guys? So I am just doing a short blog on mental health. Um, I have been battling this now for a good 3 years, and now obviously it's come to a point where I was getting less than 3 hours sleep a night, body running on pure adrenaline day after day, just so I could work, function, go to sports, and do all these different things in life. So I thought I'd just give you an update. I've just come out of a mental health institution called St. John's. I was there for 7 days and I had to get out. I'm a very outdoorsy person. I heal a lot faster outdoors. I definitely was gonna lose my mind in a place like that. So I got my psychologist and psychiatrist to agree and give me meds on the condition that I don't work, and I run 4 different businesses, and I keep myself fairly busy, and I love to read and learn new things on a consistent basis. But unfortunately, with not having any serotonin and dopamine in my brain, which is the main cause of what I'm going through now, is just pure burnout. I'll give you a little background on how it all came about. I was just kind of getting really busy with work, taking on a lot of projects, learning a whole different bunch of different things to implement into businesses, and hiring new staff, taking on more pressure. And then I just went for like a really basic hike, and I thought, you know what, I've got enough energy, I should be able to do it. It's a fairly easy hike, I've done it a number of times. Should take me a good 2 hours up and down just to do 12 Ks, you know. So went on that hike, and I got near the top, near the summit, and I literally, my brain just shut down, and I've had to obviously claw my way back, all the way back down to base camp, which just took me a good 3 hours, I think, from what I remember. I was going delirious, I couldn't remember where I was. I was just like losing it all together. It felt like I was crawling back, and this is the first time I've actually been able to think or even process or even have the kind of initiation to want to do a video to share my experience of what burnout feels like, in a sense, and just to make my friends and family and whoever else out there who's going through it what it feels like. So on my average day, I wake up roughly at about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, sometimes 5, depending on my daughter and my wife, obviously. And to get out of bed is probably one of the most difficult processes. Normally for me, I can just get up at 5, get to the beach, go for a surf, and go to gym or do whatever I do, go climb, or I'm very active, so I'll end up doing something. But to even get out of bed and think about just making breakfast was probably, it felt impossible. It wasn't even something I could consider taking on, like I just couldn't do it. It was the strangest feeling, not knowing where I was, and when the anxiety attacks, or whatever you want to call that nonsense, kicks in, you feel like you're in a out of body experience, like you're there but you're not there, and it's very, very strange to try and explain what it feels like. But I've now been on meds. They've put me on a whole bunch of meds. I just thought, you know what, I was getting to a point where I tried for 3 weeks on my own, just to push. Once after the hike happened, and so they put me on a whole bunch of meds, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try these things and see if they actually do help. And so they've put me on what's it, like 15 milligrams of Brintlex, and I got Dopacol to sleep, and other sleeping tablets, and I've got Alzam for like the panic attacks. I mean, my panic attacks generally last, anxiety attacks last about 2 hours at some points. I can't think, I can't function, I can't do anything. So tonight I feel like I've got a bit of pep in me, and I feel quite a bit better this evening. Just laying on my back and doing my general massages, a bit of exercise, forcing myself through certain situations. I've now kind of got to a point where I can't lie down anymore. I can't just sit around anymore, and it's starting to really weigh on my mental state. So I thought tonight is going to be gym night, and I managed to just do a couple sit-ups and push-ups and a few ab rollers, and just to keep my body, moving. And that was very good. That was very helpful, and so we're just going through the processes and whatever. But I'm still not really sleeping that well. The sleep still is a rather rare aspect, even though I'm on tablets. So I'm going to have to speak to psychiatrists. Take their advice, especially if you have a good one. They really know what they do. They'll tweak and they'll have a look at your blood work. Ask all the questions you want to ask. Don't just go in ad hoc and kind of just do whatever they tell you. I've never been one for doctors. I hate them. I hate hospitals. I've had so many injuries, so many problems, so many things go wrong in my life, and I've just avoided doctors, and kind of they've always told me some bullshit story that this isn't gonna be able to be possible in the future, and all this nonsense. So this is really the first time I've actually taken the advice of my pastor, who's been really helpful in my life, and I'd like to give a shout out to Ross Rogers from Olive Tree. The really great team, Tim and the guys there at the church who have been helping me through a few things, and all my friends, who've been there. It's been a really humbling experience for me to go through this and to experience this complete absolute breakdown. I've never felt so weak and so powerless in my entire life. It scared the living shit out of me, and it still does when the anxiety attacks come on. But I'd like to thank everybody who's been there for me on when I have broken. Everyone who been praying for me, I really appreciate it. And I really want to thank God, for everything that He's done. I've been at war with my Father in heaven. We've had some really intense conversations over the past couple of weeks. But nonetheless, perfect love always casts out all fear. But it's a process, and there's a message in this, and whatever it is He's trying to bring out in me, I'm hoping that some way I can use this whole process that I'm going through to reach out to people who are going through heavy anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and I've been dealing with it for so long now, and it's got to a point where I have to go on meds. It's that or go to stay in the loony bin until who knows how long. So there are many other ways. I'm not saying medication is the only way. There probably are a million other ways, but like I said, I'm a newbie in this situation, and I really just find a way that works for you, and find a community. If I can just one piece of advice, find someone to talk to. If you're a guy, find another guy. If you're a girl, or you're really close to your spouse, like there's certain things guys don't want to talk to their wives about. I want to talk to another guy about what I'm going through, or whoever. Just find someone and to talk to. Keep a diary. You'll be surprised what kind of stuff comes out of your head when you start writing. It's it's quite an eye opener. I mean, I've had some really dark thoughts come through my mind, and in my faith, the Christian faith is all about the mind. It's a battle in the spiritual realms, and it's been a real process. And I'm losing my train of thought now because the anxiety kind of always kicks in around this time. So please excuse me. Um, so anyway, I'll just continue what I think I should have been going on with the story. Where God is taking me, I do not know. He's gonna kind of I'm just going with the process, you know. I kind of just go with my feeling on how I feel on the day and try and get some perspective. I pray for perspective and peace and some form of wisdom on a daily basis. But sometimes I'm just angry at God, and you know, I've learned over time that being angry at God is okay. It's no different to my daughter coming to me if she's upset about something and screaming and being upset. And I think people need to understand that God is more merciful and more loving than we expect him. He's not just this all-powerful being. Yes, he could snap me out of this tomorrow, but sometimes there's a process and there's a crushing that needs to happen, you know, to bring out the new wine or the new, you know, there's so many different little statements that you can read. I mean, I've read some phenomenal books by like T.D. Jakes, the Crushing, really good. Erwin McManus, The Last Arrow, Craig Rochelle, Hope in the Dark. There's a bunch of guys that have really phenomenal stuff and insight and into God, the Word of God. Stephen Furtick, I'm into it at the moment. The Lazarus Effect, if you haven't seen it, go to his YouTube channel, give that stuff a watch. We all have that Lazarus in us, and it's a process that's we all have to go through in life. But if you're trying to do it on your own, you're gonna fail. God always says, find where two or more are gathered, I will be there. Find someone to talk to. It doesn't matter how simple a conversation is. If you've got develop relationships, you know, and this Christian community, I've noticed it's been difficult for me. Christian community is very divided. From what I've seen over the past 2 years, it's very cliquey. If you're not involved in big groups or, you know, known around the church, it is hard to find men who are willing to step out and help. So for those who have been helping me, I really appreciate it, and I'm hoping that I can help back now. You know, I've led a few groups in my past little 2 years that I've been involved in Christianity, and I really feel like we can do a lot more as a unified church rather than such a divided community. We need to work on unity to bring about a bigger bond, especially amongst the men. There's too much division amongst men in the Christian church, and but it's a process, and it's not like a death sentence for us. And we're just gonna go through it with love and peace, and see what comes out of it. So tonight, this will be my first update. It's the first blog or vlog I've ever done. It's very unorganized. It's all over the place. My brain is all over the place. And for those who are suffering with anxiety and depression, I pray for peace for you tonight. And I pray that the Lord fills you with His Holy Spirit.